may know them. But before I introduce them, I want everyone to know that our own Scooter Boham is a retired outboard professional powerboat racer. Who knew that? Anyone? Oh, come on.
That's part of my HOA over there.
You can't trust me, he lets everybody tell you.
All right. From 1968, no, sorry,
No.
1988.
I was still riding a tricycle, thank you.
To 1993 on the International Outboard Grand Prix circuit. Pretty impressive. Scooter was Rookie of the Year. You guys probably knew that. In 1987, and then changed course and went outboard drag racing from 1996 to 2002. It's pretty cool. I want a ride.
Thank you. You get a ride. You can get a ride.
He competed on the Outboard Drag Boat Association Tour and International Hot Boat Association Tour, winning a Pro Fuel Championship in 1999. I'm sure that's not easy to do.
No,
It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of money, and a pretty intense competitive spirit. Scooter is now racing in the American Powerboat Association Vintage and Historic category on the East Coast. What's the saying? You can take something out of somebody, but you can... I forget how that goes. Anyway, so if the stars align, you may hear this first right now, we will soon have a vintage boat racing event here at Lake Gaston sometime next year. Stars have to align, need everybody's help and support. And I asked Caroline earlier that once the vintage boat race is over, if Overby Marine would put a new Cobalt in the water and race one of these vintage boats, because I want to see which ones. Anyway, thank you, Scooter.
Oh, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Yeah, so it's definitely been one of my loves in my life, and I'm going to make this really brief. So I presented it. I've been competing on this vintage and historic tour for 4 years now, and it's mostly exhibition, but what it's done is it's brought the old race boats and motors and drivers out of their garages to be able to showcase, and be able to race again. I'm actually one of the younger ones there, and I'm 65 years old, so it's been fun. But anyway, a couple of races in Maryland, Southern Maryland Boat Club, Portsmouth Powerboat Club has also put one on in Portsmouth. We recently went to Florida and competed in an event, did really well there, won some heats. There's no points, no trophies per se, no money. It's exhibition, but it's a professional event that's put on, and it's all about showcasing. It's all about the fans and putting on a nice event. So it's a lot of fun. It's exciting, and the LGA, the board has decided to sponsor an event, help put this together for next year. So we're working on that. And so with that, it's kind of cool because I understand there was some powerboat racing on the lake way back in the 60s maybe. I don't know, but it sounds like it was kind of cool and it went away. And so we want to bring that back just to have an event for a weekend, and thinks it would be really fun. So anyway, with that, I'm going to allow you to introduce Adam and Caroline. Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Caroline.
Yeah. So Jim's going to do a podcast, and it should be pretty cool.
All right, thanks, Scooter. All right, Caroline and Adam, come on up. I'm going to grab my water and we'll get started. Now, Scooter, this vintage boat race is not going to compete with the big airfare on June 20th.
Oh, absolutely not.
All right.
We might not want to mix our paths.
I don't want to hit one of those lakes at 100 mile an hour either. Thank you, Adam. No, we want nice, smooth water to do what we do.
All right, so our special guests today are Caroline Overby and Adam Fields. Some of you may know some of these folks. Caroline was born and raised in Orange County, Virginia. I wrote this down wrong. Thank you. Okay, so since you all know it's North Carolina, do you know where she was born in Orange County, North Carolina?
Hillsborough.
On a dairy farm. And she met her husband and moved to Lake Gaston about 20 years ago. Caroline has been a delight to work with and has been an Overby since their opening in 2007, 17 years ago. Caroline is now part of the team running the multi-generational family business in 2 locations and raising a family with 2 girls, ages 13 and 17. Happy belated birthday.
Thank
I
you.
think you just had a birthday a couple,
It was in April.
It was April, okay. Needless to say, it takes a strong, smart, confident, capable woman to juggle these priorities every day and to deliver caring service with a smile to every customer. So I appreciate working with you. Adam was born and raised in Lake Gaston, North Carolina. Adam started water sports with his family and has gone on to win multiple world and Pan-American championship titles. Was the 2011 Bro Stock Big Air Champion and 2009 USA Wakeboard Athlete of the Year. Again, time, commitment, dedication, competitive spirit. So great to have you here. He's been a multi-time champion and event official at countless wakeboarding events and loves to compete. Building the sport of wakeboarding has been a career-long goal, along with mentoring and building the careers of his students from all over the globe, which is also really cool. And you have some of them come here and work here with you, right, for the summer and stuff like that?
We've had people from over 20 different countries travel here to be on Lake Gaston to learn water sports.
That's
Our
awesome.
team.
I love it. Great coaches, by the way. I've heard nothing but amazing things from some of my neighbors that have participated in understanding how to drive a wake boat and also understanding how to wakeboard at the same time. So they go together. Life and business are full for Adam with 2 children, his wife, and being coach and owner of AF Wake. You might have heard of the place, which also is a school. You might not have known that they offer lessons that I just mentioned. A board shop, an event host, and a boat and equipment sales location. So thank you for joining us today, Adam. Both of these people have a lot of stuff to do because it's Saturday, June 6th. It's going to be 90 degrees here today, and there's going to be people in the stores that are looking to buy stuff. So, okay, so we're going to talk about, with both Caroline and Adam being LGA business members, we're going to talk about them and their water sports enthusiasts and talk about, Adam's going to talk about wake boats and water skiing and wakeboarding and surfing. And Caroline's going to help us with things like pontoons, speedboats, tubing, and most importantly, courtesy and safety while maintaining your family and guest fun on the water. Is there anybody in the room that does not own a boat? All right.
You're in the right place.
Yes.
Sounds good. So let's go. Caroline, let's start with you. What are some of the responsibilities of a boat owner to ensure everybody has fun?
That we do it safely. To me, that's the biggest responsibility. You know, boating is fun. It's a lot of fun. We all love it, but it can be dangerous if you allow it to be. So I think it's a big responsibility for the boat owner or the boat operator, whoever is say in charge, the driver. Make sure your safety equipment is where it needs to be. If you get stopped, you get checked. And then also just, if you're tubing, skiing, getting in or out of the boat, you know, there are some safety issues that can happen. So make sure kids are aware of the rules and what needs to happen and all that. So that's your responsibility as the boat driver, boat owner, to let everybody on the boat know what the rules are and where all the safety equipment is.
And if I'm not mistaken, mostly everybody at this point is required to take a boating safety course and to have a certification.
Yes,
Right?
we recommend all of our customers take one, no matter if you're supposed to by law or not. In Virginia, the law is everybody needs to take the course to operate a vessel. In North Carolina, if you were born on or after January 1st, 1988, you're required to take it. If you were born before that, then you're grandfathered in, you don't have to take it. However, we still encourage people to take it if you've never taken it before.
And that's either free or
It's
a
free.
nominal fee.
Right, you can take it for free. There's lots of resources to do that. You can take it online and pay for the course and just be an online course. I prefer it in person because I feel like you can learn more, you know, with a group of people or with professionals. And so we encourage people to take it. especially children, teenagers love to take stuff online now. However, you get way more out of it if you take it in person. Yes.
Cool. And it's about, how long is it, the course?
We host the course at the store about once a year, and it starts at 9 a.m. and they're done by about 3.
Okay.
So
Great.
it's not
So
bad at all.
good time spent.
Yeah.
And so things like, I think every jet ski, every pontoon, every speedboat, probably every wake boat needs to have a life jacket for everybody.
Life jacket for everybody on board, and the right size life jacket is the trick. Children under 13 have to wear them all the time, but the adults, you have to have one that's the appropriate size on the boat. You have to have a horn or a whistle. A whistle on the boat will save you a ticket, because we tell people all the time, yes, your boat has a horn, but as things work, when the game warden stops you, the horn won't blow when you hit the button. If you have a whistle, that saves you. You have to have a throw cushion, throwable device, the white square cushion. You have to have that. You have to have your lights all working and your registration. So knowing what you have to have in case the game warden stops you, and you have to have all those things because that makes you safe, right? But the game warden is going to stop you, and he's going to check, make sure you have all those things.
I know I have whistles on my jet skis. I don't know about the boat. So thanks for the tip there.
You're welcome.
And I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but I put my registration cards on the vessels the other day, and I noticed it said kind of like not valid unless signed. And I'm like, really? Like,
I've
do I really
never,
have to sign this thing?
I've never heard of a game warden giving anybody any trouble for that.
That would be
But I
not.
guess they could. So
All right, so sign your registration card if you haven't signed it, because it says you're supposed to, but I don't know why you have to. But, all right, so there's lots of swimmers, kayakers, paddle boarders in the water. As a boat operator, especially some of these pontoon, tri-toons, and speedboats, and some of these have big engines on them now, and I know they're going fast. And you get a lot of people on a pontoon boat with a 250 or two 250 horsepower engines, which you would love to sell,
absolutely.
but it puts a big boat on the water with a lot of people and they're going fast.
Yes.
So back to your customer comment, like, hey Jim, it's awesome that you want to buy this boat, but let me just remind you of some things that you need to be responsible about. So not only fire extinguishers, whistles, all that good stuff, but what about these other people that are in the water, the wakeboarders and the swimmers and the paddlers and the kayakers? What do we need to think about that?
I'm going to quote my mother and say, be aware of your surroundings. I heard that. If I heard that once, I heard it. I still hear it a million times. Be aware of your surroundings. You have to pay attention, not just to yourself, but to everybody else. If there is something that does not have motor, here, how's it worded?
A non-powered vessel.
A non-powered vessel, yes. So, kayak, paddleboard, swimmers, a sailboat,
Floaters.
floaters, they have right of way. So, people do swim. It scares me to death, but I see people swimming across the main lake or in the coves, and it really makes me stop and pause and think, I really need to be paying attention to this. So you have to pay attention around. If somebody is right in front of you and on a paddleboard, you obviously have to go around. So you have to be aware of that. And they could not have on their safety equipment. They could not have on a life jacket. They could not have on a flag, that would make them visible. Is that the right thing to do? Probably, but they may not. So you have to be paying attention to them. And your speed, you talk about speed, you just have to be smart about it. And we try and educate our customers, that yes, you have this huge motor. It doesn't mean you have to go wide open throttle all the time. And just be aware of what's going on. If it's a busy day at the lake, don't hold it wide open. Like, jet skiers are also, which we all know, jet skiing is lots of fun, but they are notorious for coming right behind the boat and trying to jump the wave. And you have to be aware of them because they may not always be aware of you and your actions and how you're getting ready to turn and all that. So being aware is just the biggest thing, paying attention.
Very well said. And just to clarify for everybody, it's okay to drink alcohol and smoke weed while operating a boat, right?
No comment, not liberty to
Wait,
say.
what?
No, please
Just
do not
kidding,
do
of
that.
course.
Please do not do that. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
because as the operator of the boat, you're responsible not only for yourself and your vessel, but everybody else is in the water, and
Yes.
everybody that's on your boat or in the water.
And we get asked this question all the time at the store, especially people who are new to Lake Gaston, cannot drink on the boat. I mean, they just wanna know what the rules are, and I mean, the rules are the same as a car. You have to have a designated driver, you cannot drive and be intoxicated on the boat. I mean, just like a car, if you're drunk driving, the car is your weapon, you can kill someone else with that. The boat's the same way, and it has happened before, it will happen again. And that's what you want to avoid. So you can have open containers on the boat, but you still have to have a DD driving the boat, so.
Thank you for clarifying.
You can add something in
Of
the-
course.
So there, through the boater safety course, it touch on the rights of way and how you pass vessels. So there's information out there to learn those specific rules. And the rules of the lake and the boat are kind of quite similar to how we drive cars from a practical standpoint. But there aren't really clear lanes identified on the lake. And there's some practical adjusting that can happen to flow better with everybody when you're aware of your surroundings. Just a real quick example of that is if you know Lizard Creek, it's kind of windy, and fishermen, we obviously know, go fast because they got to catch those fish. But they typically, if they're trying to get from point A to point B, will cut the corners, and that makes a lot of sense if you just think practically. And if you're blocking them going slow, even if you might have a right-of-way scenario, that's a little more risky than kind of planning around what you're going to experience. And there's, I could get long-winded on this, and I won't, but the different genres of boat style are like doing things pretty consistently within that genre. And when you are aware of your surroundings and learn kind of what to expect them to do, it really helps you work with them or get out of the way so that you don't feel surrounded or in a dangerous spot. And signaling people, and then lastly on this was start them young and teach the kids to be aware of the rules, like Caroline said, but also to engage them, have them participate in the boating rules and know it, that it's not just the driver who took that course's job to be safe on the boat. It can spread to everybody on the boat, and children at a very young age can do great things on the boat and support it in a team effort kind of way, and you look out for each other.
Thank you. All right, thanks for bringing up the point about the fishermen as well, and think about them. And you mentioned that when they're traveling fast from point A to point B, they can cut the corners. So you're saying that if instead of them staying on the right side of the corner, they may come to the left side and cut it short, and then there could be an oncoming boat from the other thing. So as a boat operator, you want to be aware of those sights and sounds that might be coming at you as well.
And if we, so the most valuable service I offer people, we offer, is how to drive the boats and understand this stuff. That's like, we can get you sponsored by Red Bull and you win a world championship with sport, but the most value we provide is this boating dynamic and the driving, how to drive boats, getting in and out of the dock so it's safe, pulling your kids so they don't get hurt. I think wakeboarding's a dangerous sport. When you do it right, you have it works, and so I relate it back to driving cars. And anyone in this room has driven a car. Everyone has anyone not driven a car, right? And a lot of people think I don't drive the boat. Maybe my wife does all the driving, or my husband does all the driving, or the children drive. But if we connect the practicality with the way we drive cars, driving a boat makes a lot more sense, and it gets easier and less intimidating. We would not go around that corner by Big Rock, headed to Lizard Creek, going faster than we can safely take that turn. That's obvious to us in cars. We look both ways before we pull out onto US 1 in Raleigh, or Hull Street in Richmond. You get these. So where we wind up in unsafe spots with speed is if you're going too fast to make you turn. And so, like in the fishing boat scenario, or in a jet ski scenario, or any boat, really, just think back to like how you would do it in a car. And if they're going so fast and can't steer a boat, they're putting a lot of risk out there. And it's just the nature of those boats where they are trying to get from one spot to another spot. And we use our phones all the time for navigation. Do you like to take the long way if you're in a hurry? You take the short way. So you're just shortening the distance from point A to point B. And that's just like kind of gonna happen. And if we can recognize that, being aware of our surroundings and saying, well, okay, maybe I have the right of this fisherman is probably. And I'm not hating on fishing boats either. I'm just using them as this example, but that they're probably going to think this way, so they're probably going to go here. And a lot of times we're just swimming out in the middle of the lake with no vest on and putting ourselves in a position where we get really scared, and we can work around that and like kind of be safer. And relate it back to the wake boats. I can't do my jumps if the boat's not going straight and the boat is balanced. I jump both ways, I want a symmetrical wake. So we don't drive circles when we pull ourselves. We go in straight lines. At the end, we turn around real tight so it doesn't take up much space, and we go straight back. But if I'm teaching a young child and we're going really slow, or beginner adult, and we're going slow, I'm not just parked out in the middle of the creek going straight in a very stubborn sort of mentality, and then being in a spot where boats are trying to take a shortcut. That's an example where I would break off from what I want to do and move a little bit closer to the shore to get out of somebody's way. And if I'm doing that in the middle of a busy intersection and get a little bit close to your dock with a small child, I'm not trying to drive up on your shoreline and disrespect your shoreline either. But that is the safest move in that moment. Sometimes you get out of people's way.
Good, thank you. Let's talk about tubing for a minute. So that's one of the other things that we've got lots of vacationers here. They rent a boat. They may or may not have driven a boat before. Probably I think the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get a tube, and they're going to put the young kids on the back of the boat and probably drive fast.
Yeah.
Because of the smiles and the laughter and the challenges from the kids. And then my wife is always like, slow down.
Yeah. Tubing is fun. We've all done it. We all love it. Our kids love it. You're supposed to tube around 15 miles an hour, okay, which is slow. Some go slower even to start off with the small kids. This is what we do in our family, on our boat. If we tube, we go out to the middle, turn off the engine, and sit there, and then we have a little chat with the kids, and we say, okay, what's the hand signals? Speed up and slow down and stop, We go through all that, so anybody that's gonna ride is aware of how you need to communicate with the driver or the spotter. And we always have a spotter, so there's always at least 2 people on the boat and the people on the tubes. Technically, even on jet skis, you're supposed to have, a spotter, a driver, and the person on the tube. So, like a 2-person jet ski, technically you're not supposed to pull a tube on, So it has to be a 3-seater, so you have a spotter, right? So there are rules in place for that, for safety, of course. So our biggest thing is to communicate with whoever's on the tube. You know how to do this. You know what that means, and you need to make sure to use that. Don't just sit there and freak out on the tube. You need to use what you know, and it typically works well. You also need a second person on the boat that is going to be responsible for the line, the tube line, and the tube, and bringing them in and making sure it doesn't get caught up on the ladder, get caught up on the engine. It's always nice to have another responsible adult or teenager or whoever it might be that is not getting up away from the helm. You've got a person that stays at the helm all the time, and you have another person who's getting up and checking on the tube and the rope and keeping an eye on the kids, you know, being the spotter. So that's always our rule. If we don't have that many people, then we don't do it. And so we encourage our customers to do and educate them. I just delivered a boat Saturday to a family who bought a house up here. It was actually 3 families. They all had kids. None of them had owned a boat before. None of them had owned a lake house before. They had rented previously, and that's all the experience they had. So as a business owner and as a person in the boat industry, I'd love to see that they're getting into the boat industry, that they're getting into boating. These kids are gonna grow up with great lake memories. I love that. But they didn't know much, you know, so I do feel like that's part of our responsibility to make sure they know the basics. Have a contact for Adam. I refer a lot of our customers to him for boat driving lessons, wakeboard lessons, all of that. So to have a good contact and resources where they can get a lot better educated. One out of the whole crew had the class. So they all were, I was giving them information on taking the class. So, and we talked about tubing. We talked about it because that was their number one thing they wanted to do with all the kids was tube. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's make sure you know what needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen. So to me, that's the biggest thing is making sure whoever's on the tube can communicate well with the driver. So.
You don't get to to drive yourself. And well, it's wide open for making that ride for the person the best ride for that person. So there needs to be open communication. My tubing has come about super full circle for me because I've got a 4 and a 7-year-old, and they like to do that more than everything else that they've learned so far. And sidebar, AF Wake's so much more than just wakeboarding. We're teaching all these things and boat driving and setup and how to use the gear safely. And so when you understand the signals and you talk to each other, you can sculpt and structure the ride. I'm also co-owner of Lake Gaston's #1 boat rentals business, and what everybody does is they go out and they redline the boat the entire time and then try to drive, and they're breaking steering cables and they're plowing through their gas, and the tube really isn't being swung well. Probably all not so much experience, you understand that the boat could be going 15, but you can make the tube go 30.
Absolutely.
And so, we would not drive our cars with the pedal to the metal, even if we were allowed to, maybe scooters. And then I would on the big roads, because I do like to get there quicker. But, it wouldn't be practical to, redline our car the entire time. And then try to, steer, and that gets quite a bit, I think, people just don't know. So we, on the rental side, try to talk to them about that. And now, just very recently, right now, I swear my dad's the best tube driver on Lake Gaston. And we weren't tubers, but he understands the timing of it and the swing. And we don't want to make Palmer, my 4-year-old, cry. She's going speed up the whole time, and her older brother is going slow down the whole time.
Right.
And waves, and so we have signals, and we're talking back and forth. And you might have more questions about tubing. If not, I have a couple of things I want to add.
I'm going to ask you about the only other question I have, if you want to work it in, is so I'm driving a pontoon with a tube behind it, and I got a whole family and people on the back, and I see a wake boat in the distance, and I'm like, oh man, I'm going over there because I'm going to ride these tubers through the wake.
Yeah.
So maybe work that in.
So even that was an important one I wanted to address. The best, most awesome pontoon boats don't make big waves for jumping anything. They ride smooth when the wave is flat, and it is very common that to achieve that, you're going to find another boat to do that. Connecting, also, Caroline said they go out into the main lake and they get set up and go. That's a great spot to find waves. If you're living in Pretty Creek or a creek or small space, you might have a child trying to learn how to wakeboard or a person on their pillow or somebody paddleboarding. It's not really the best spot to. But we have to diplomatically understand that you can't tell them no. And I mean, we all know from maybe some of the families on the dock and they want to see the kids go by. So you're going to want to be close to home and maybe not just waste gas by going far away, but with tubing, if you're tubing in a spot where somebody's trying to ski, you're ruining it for them. And if you're doing the turns, that's a really erratic, unpredictable boat pattern. Back to the fishing boats or scooters on a speedboat. You don't like get in his way, or if y'all see the seaplane and he's about to land, you don't just block him. It's practical common sense. Well, with tubing, it's the most unpredictable thing out there, really. So let's say you are just doing a great tubing and you are doing S-turns in front of scooter. And you drop your kid because you went right in front of them. That's dangerous on your tube driving
It's part of your
skills.
responsibility.
It's part of your responsibility to be aware of that. And so we encourage, can't demand, but encourage tubing to just be out in the open water. And even more so than jet skis running you over or a fishing boat running you over, because they come around a curve and they can't steer because it goes fast. The most dangerous thing I see, and this is a consistent, strong opinion about this, that when people on pontoon boats are trying to find a wake boat wave and then swoop to swing the tube into it, they're not really looking at the wake boat in the moment they should, because that's the moment you check to see where your tube is. Pontoons don't typically have rearview mirrors, so you're not like looking forward and seeing behind you. And that's just really dangerous. When we pull people wakeboarding, back to cars, have you ever been in the car and a police officer's behind you? And you've been speeding. And you're like, are the blue lights coming on? You're looking at that rear view mirror like it's the most important thing it's more important than breathing, right? Like, has everybody kind of been there? Like, you're checking that rear view mirror, but you still see the road because you're looking forward. On all our boats and wake boats, we have these awesome mirrors in appropriate spots to use them like we do in our cars. And we can see where we're going, but we're seeing our rider the whole time. Usually pontoon boats don't have those. So to see behind you, you're either relying on a spotter, which is not as good as seeing it from the driver's seat, or you're like looking behind you, and that's that moment where the surfer you're chasing just fell. And so that's been a very, very risky, vulnerable spot many times on the lake in the last few years as pontoon boats have gotten more applicable to all of that stuff and they go faster.
That's probably the scariest thing, and y'all probably at some point have experienced this, but especially as a parent of small kids, you're sitting here watching them tube behind the boat, and you see another boat coming up way too close to your kid on the tube back there.
Right.
And
You get up.
you get up, and the video
Yeah.
just went viral just like this week for that happening, and they fell off. Might have been a surfer, fell off, and that boat came probably within 20 yards of the person in the water. So, I mean, again, we try our best to educate, but some people, also on the day that the customer comes and picks up the boat, I know several people in here have bought a boat from me in the past, but it's information overload. I'm sitting here spilling out all these things about the boat and this and that and the other and the rules. And you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta have this equipment, that equipment. And so your brain is really full of a lot of information, so they don't always hear everything I'm saying. Which is a lot of times why we say, you should get boat driving lessons from Adam's place, and get more help. And I say, call me if you got any questions, but sometimes you get so much information you don't remember everything. But I mean, one of our biggest things is safety, and please do not ride that close. If somebody's pulling anybody, kneeboarding, wakeboarding, surfing, tubing, try and go as far away as you can from them, and people will come right up behind you, scare us to death, you know, so.
And to just like continue that with back to going out into the main lake for tubing, then you're away from it.
You've got more room to
You've
get
got
around.
more room. You're further out there. And even for our water sports, where we're trying to get in the main lake if we're running big wakes, we tell all the surfers to go out in the open, not in the creeks. But if you're just like feeling trapped and like it's dangerous, when you go out into the main lake, you are so much further away from everybody, and don't get scared as much or have as many of those like close case scenarios.
Cool. I'm going to ask you, we're going to have to do audience questions in 1 second. But while the audience members are thinking about a question they might have, tell us about the big airfare. Now that you just took that slip for a while.
Yeah.
So water sports is so cool, and like racing is so cool. There used to be the paragliding, parasailing.
Yep.
On the lake way back. There's fishing tournaments. My 75-year-old dad is competing in a water ski tournament somewhere in Virginia right now, and my mom's one of the towboat drivers of the event.
That's amazing.
Water skiers, there is a ski course in Lizard Creek. Those of you that have seen Overby and seen the buoys, that is a very amazing thing. It's one of 3 events in tournament water skiing. There's show skiing where they built the pyramids, and surely seen it. Nobody on the lake really doesn't. But there's just lots of cool stuff. And I grew up doing that, and then shifted, went rogue and black sheep, and went wakeboarder when wakeboarding became a thing. And that's all come back full circle. But through more exposure, people find it. They find the lake. They find boats to buy. They find houses to buy and buy groceries and visit our restaurants and stuff. So attracting people to Lake Gaston is a big part of my intention and my heart and soul. Like, I'm from here, I love the place, I want to make the lake a better place. I did drop out of college to go pro at wakeboarding, and also like needed to have an income. And so I started the school. This is year 27 of the school. People from all over the world come. We're up to 17 out of 17 first timers this summer so far. I've coached. Anybody that tries, if you have people that have never gotten up, they will get up every time with me, like 100%. And whether you're there or you're trying to go pro, we can support that. And the Big Airfare is our kind of custom event that is a show. So we try to bring in good people to show off for everybody and show you what you can do and get people hyped on it. And within our invite-only rider list, we are competing that day for some money for biggest air of the day, best trick of the day, and we do have a kind of honorable mention, best crash. Worst crash, however you want to look at it. But they go home hurt, but with a little money in their pocket. And that's a 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. show. We try to go early because it's really hard to do what we do when the waters are off. Surfing, you can kind of get around it. Surfing's not that fun to watch. The reason we're in the coves or trying to ride wicked early in the morning is because we can ride way better when the water's calm. Imagine riding through really rough water, does not help you go faster, and we're at risk for that. So we do the show in the morning early, come on out. You can watch it by boat, but it's better if you come by car, and just there's food and drink vendors, and this is maybe year 17 of that. We've been doing it a long time, and we do another event where anybody can register and ride and participate. That's in August. We have information on our website and social media about that.
So June 20th.
June 20th for
9
Big
to
Air
1.
Fair, 9 to 1 at the south end of the Eden Ferry Bridge where South Shore Realty used to be.
Okay. And so where do I park my car if I want to to drive my car there.
There's plenty of parking in the spot where Restored Properties is, right on site, and
And
that car's in
that's the
A.
viewing place as well.
And that's the viewing place. There's shade. Bring a chair or a towel, sit down or stand. Food and drink out there.
Great.
It's a good time.
Sounds like it. Questions from anybody? Oh, here we go. Yes, sir.
I think one of the most surprising things that we experienced at one of the presentations at the LGA with wildlife was open container law in North Carolina is not the same as Virginia. You really have to be careful about that. And one of the examples that the wildlife officer gave was in North Carolina, open container with wine. It's not permitted. Now that's one of them. And the thing that was surprising about that, of course, is that normally the driver of the boat is drinking the wine. Normally, all right? So what his comment, what the officer said was, we really don't enforce it unless we have reason to. And at that point, the Virginia wildlife officer said, thank God we don't have to get involved in this, because they don't have that problem. They're only concerned with the condition of the driver. The North Carolina wildlife officer pretty much is looking at it the same way. But he said if somebody flaunted this at us, we would probably have to take action. So I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Also,
It's almost like hard liquor was not on the list, but beer and wine was. You can go on site and look it up.
Welcome to North Carolina.
yeah. And the North Carolina Game Wardens, it is up to their judgment if you are driving while impaired. It doesn't matter what the breathalyzer says, it doesn't matter, if they say you're impaired, then you're impaired.
But what he's saying is he can write a ticket if there's an open container that has nothing to do with the driver of the boat.
It's important to do your research, yep.
And just a clarification too, I think this is correct, but Lake Gaston, since it covers 2 states, both Virginia and North Carolina wildlife have rights or permissions, authority over, that they can cross a state line. Virginia can come out of Beale Creek and be in North Carolina and still enforce law. Yeah. Sorry, Louis, 1 second, sir.
Statement in the comment, or statement in the question. Statement wise, my 15-year-old granddaughter has gone and spent at least a day or two with Adam every year since 2020, right in the middle of COVID. If you've got kids or grandkids or anybody that are coming to the lake, even if they're just coming for a day, it's amazing how good she is on this stuff. She loves it every time, so thank you, Adam. Are you doing any kind of structured summer camps this year?
We have 3 summer camps that are day camps, one in June, one in July, and one in August. They're almost full. We might could squeeze somebody in June, the June camp. We prefer to do private lessons on your boat. We'll go to your house, make sure you're getting in and out of the dock right, that your balance on the boat lift right. That's a huge thing with new wake boats, is they're going in old docks and maybe they've upgraded some of the lift parts, but then the boat's just not even sitting balanced on the lift and snaps the cables, brand new cables. So like, my dad owns a boat lift store and started Doozy Boat Lifts 40 years ago, so I'm a little versed in that. But just making sure that it's just easy to use your boat and drive and get everybody in the family driving the boat and supporting the fun that you have together. So we want to do those types of lessons. Our day camps have been tricky living here at the lake, like an hour and a half from the cities. If we were in Raleigh, our day camps would be like packed. They're so fun and cool. The kids get out together, they ride and rotate. And we've seen numerous times where we work so much magic with the kids during that camp week, and then they go home and whoever's driving the boat drives them so wrong for what they're trying to do, and they like can't do it. So we encourage those follow-ups afterwards, and again, getting on your boat so that even if you're not the skier or the wakeboarder or the surfer, that you understand like what's supposed to happen and how to drive right so that you're safe, but also can like have more fun and do it. And it's pretty complex. Wakeboarding's the most complex of all of the sports. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of very specifically calculated components in it, and it's as overwhelming as getting your boat the first day and having all that information. And if you do it wrong, you can get really hurt when you're working. So we can like kind of help guide you through all that.
Let's do 2 more questions, and then I promise these guys will get them out of here by 10:30 because they got a business to run. But yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Grace Smock, and my family's been taking lessons from Adam for 20 years, or however long you've been there, Adam. And so I want to talk about wake surfing, because it's one thing you haven't talked about yet. And so Adam took our family out, taught us about wake surfing, and then when we found a dog boat, Adam really helped us with that. So you haven't really talked about that, Adam, and one of the things that I love about you, there's a lot of concern about wake boats on the lake and the impact that they're having. And I've always really appreciated how you're really training people when they're surfing about what they should do to be considerate to other boats. So can you talk a little bit about what you're recommending for people when they're driving surf boats so that they can minimize their impact? And
Sure, and we try, and then on the individual, in the moment, we're one boat at a time, really hitting on key topics that it can make a big wave, and to know where your wave is going. So being kind of aware of that is something that even really seasoned boat owners, like they're just out driving and don't even really realize it. We get into kind of our own little bubble of like what we're doing. And so recognizing that we're sharing this space on the lake and that we are making a wave is important to recognize. We're trying to encourage every surfer to just be out in the big water, out in the open. It helps you surf better if the water's calmer. So learning to know the wind direction and where to go to kind of be near trees, but not right up on the lake. And there's a full-on double standard on this lake of like, if you live on the main lake, you're used to it being rough. You figured out how to bumper your dock and park your boat, and you know when and when not to go out on the, to drive into your slip. And boats come by, and yes, you don't want your swimmers getting, ran over by somebody coming in too close, but it seemed to like roll with the punches a little bit more out there. And then in the creeks, that there's a bit of a double standard of like, hey, like it should never be rough here. And that is a tricky one there. And we want to respect that, but also kind of be fair. And so if you can get out in the big open water, that's better. We tell everybody. A huge thing now on the coaching side, this is a little technical detail, is people buy these awesome new boats that can make a wave a 400-pound man can surf. But your 9-year-old daughter who's 40 pounds does not need a wave that big. And there's so much tech in the boats that people don't quite, they in the beginning don't know how to use it all. So we're helping them understand like what the tools do, and then the scalability of the lake. We see often is, they just go out and run full ballast for everybody. And that's not even the optimal wave for those people, but they don't really know better, and then they're running that big wave over and over again. So even like a little thing like that, if they just don't run a huge wake all the time, that's gonna help like not be as obnoxious seeming on it.
not going up and down the same path all the time, and trying to keep your music down. Those are the things that Kurt's talking
So
about.
the Water Sports Industry Association is a big deal. It's been around for decades, and it's like an LGA, but for the water sports industry. And they have the placard that goes with every new boat sold. It's posted at AF Wake and all the schools, and it's a message. It's a social media message, and they have three main things. Try to stay 200 feet or more away from shores. State law is like 50. And 200's better, so you're a little further away. The music carries, and when you're surfing, you can hear the music without using the tower speakers, but tower speakers are a big popular thing that gets sold on the boats. If you learn to get the music dialed, you don't have to deafen the whole lake, but sound carries over water. So watching your music, and then the repetitive passes thing, is the tricky one. Here at Lake Gaston, we can get out and go far. I want the best water when I ride, and I'm a world champion pro rider. I need to practice. I'm paid to do this. It's my job. When I ride, it's usually at 6 a.m. and I'm with one other person only. And I ride from I moved, but would ride from Lizard Creek to the end of Poe Creek, and then we swap. What's really common is in Lizard Creek, the people that live in Lizard Creek go back and forth in that same spot the whole time. That's where your repetitive passes comes in. That happens in all the creeks. Peel Creek's the most dangerous in my opinion. But if we could spread that out and still get good water, then you're not seen as much. Like I literally had to just be seen less there for a while. I've totally felt so much support and leadership from you guys in this organization to help be focused on awareness and education versus feeling attacked. There was definitely a time where, and I'm the notorious one that's ringleading all of this debauchery. But it's like if we can be seen less and get good water, that's the ticket. Coincidentally, everybody comes to the lake on Memorial Weekend, and everybody wants to go between the same hours. Right. And that could be shared a little better or more strategically to both be safe. Well, it's more than just both. It's multiple things. Being safer, having better conditions, having more fun because it's working better and it's less scary, and pissing off less people.
That's a win-win-win right there.
We had a neighbor that was really upset with us in Lizard Creek, and I went over to address it and say, hey, I'm aware, I'm sorry, I want to be your friend and be a good neighbor. What are you looking for us? And she said, well, I've seen you speak, and you talk about repetitive passes, and you're in here, and you talk about a 200-foot rule, and you're like going so close to our dock. And I said, well, let's measure it. And it went over with rope with them, and we set a buoy at 230 feet off of their dock. And then I drove the pattern I was dragging. And we were like 80 feet beyond that. So from your shore and your dock, the boats look a lot closer than they actually are. Yep. And that was kind of a fun experiment to do, to not stick it to them or put them in their place. That wasn't what it was about. It was just about recognizing from us, let's make sure we're far enough away. And it was on a little ski boat, which is a hot topic too. We need little ski boats again. Not the gigantic wake surf boats, but they are needed for some things. But the little ski boats, better for your family, smaller wake, easier to learn on, easier to drive, less expensive. But we got down between neighbor in a neighborly relation sort of way that they thought we were way closer than we were. And we still were going way out so that we weren't running repetitive passes. Imagine a teacher trying to teach something, you want the best conditions for your students. There's a little bit of a hole there that we don't want to just go to the main lake and have somebody ride on the same spot. With my first timers, they always get up, but we don't do it in the roughest part of the lake.
You guys have time for one more?
I'm fine.
All right, Lewis, last question, and then we're gonna wrap.
I just had 2 quick comments.
All right.
Number one, the distance across water. In the military, we would train. If you want to get a more accurate feeling for that, lean over, put your hands on the ground, and look through your legs. That perspective is more accurate than standing up and looking at it, as far as judging the distance. And number two, I've seen a lot of stuff recently that Virginia is beginning through legislative efforts to begin to match some of the things in North Carolina. I haven't seen anything about North Carolina matching some of the laws from Virginia. There's quite a discrepancy in the wildlife laws in both states, and Virginia's making an effort to improve by adding more to their laws. So I haven't seen any outcome. I just noticed some legislation out there.
Up north, the lakes freeze, and they have to take their docks out every year. And then they're like not as robust and strong as ours. And so the surf boats have been extra annoying up there, like little floating dinky docks, and they are getting wrecked and destroyed, and some states have banned racing statewide, and that's just awful. We're so fortunate that the lake is big, and it doesn't fluctuate, it doesn't freeze, we do have awesome docks, and no shoreline on this lake has experienced more repetitive passes than my parents, and they've got, we drive real close to their dock. With grind rails, we've done the grind rails, I've seen them. And that riprap has held up great since, I don't know, 1980 or something. We can just kind of share the space, spread out, and you're not blast gangster rap at 8 a.m. in the morning.
All right, thank you both for your commitment to the lake, and thank you for being here. Great session, really appreciate it.